Deep breath.
Get ready, everybody. Get
Deep
ready.
breath. In and out. In and out.
Goose
We're going to get
Baba.
through this show together. It's going to be fun. We're going to have fun.
Fun.
We're
We're
going
gonna
to have
have fun.
fun. This is going to be fun. And this is going to be great.
Everyone's gonna be happy.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't it be, right? But
Yeah.
what's going on, everybody? Welcome back into another Celtics Talk Weekly post-game show. I am your host, Rob Haytayan. Joining with me is the three-headed monster. You guys know these guys, Nick Franco, Seamus Zarlingo, and Justin Lowe. Guys, tonight, well, the Celtics, they might have reached a new low. Final from the TD Garden, guys, 114 to 112 against the two-seeded Houston Rockets. Former head coach Ime Udoka, guys, tonight he picks up his first win against the Boston Celtics in his Houston Rockets head coaching tenure, now 1-3. Guys, the Boston Celtics over the last 10 games at home are officially now 4-6. They are under 500, guys. They had a significant lead in that fourth quarter before Houston eventually stormed back and took the life out of the crowd, guys. Now, we got a lot. I mean, I'm going to say it one more time. We got a lot just we're going to talk about tonight. And there's going to be some serious conversations had regarding this team and where they're at. Before we get into them, I'm interested to hear everyone's initial thoughts, reactions, how you feel. But I think I might know what direction this is going to go.
It was a fun game. It was a really, really, really fun game. I enjoyed watching it. I thought the energy was there. I thought the effort was there. What I didn't think was there was the execution down the stretch. The Boston Celtics built themselves up an 11-point lead in the beginning of that fourth quarter. Obviously, Dillon Brooks was on the bench to start that fourth quarter, and the Celtics just collapsed. Dillon Brooks comes in, applies the pressure, starts trash talking to Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and he just does everything possible to make sure the Jays do not get the Celtics back into this game. And he did his job tonight. Credit to Dillon Brooks, as annoying as he is. He's one of those players you'd probably love to have on your team, but hate to play against. Luke Cornett, my man, had a phenomenal game tonight, but it's really hard to single out individual performances when you come out with yet another home loss. The Celtics, I have to admit, came out with a lot of energy, which you do question coming off a long road trip and obviously just a day's worth of rest coming off a flight from Dallas. So I do give the Celtics credit for coming out and playing with some energy tonight and some effort. That was definitely one of the more fun games I've watched the Celtics play in a little bit. Yet at the same time, one of the most gut-wrenching games I've seen the Boston Celtics play, because we had this one, fellas. I know the Celtics had some guys out tonight on the injury report, but you don't want to throw those excuses on, because actually the Celtics have been better when guys have been on the injury report for our own team. So just a very, very frustrating, head-scratching game tonight. And the Celtics now are 3-9 following a win this month. 3-9, 0-5 at home. The Celtics cannot buy a home win for their lives, when all season long, last year, I know last year's last year and we're in the moment now, but last year, talk about between the preseason and the NBA Finals, Celtics had only lost, 6, 7, 8 games at home. It is not the same this year at the TD Garden, and I don't know what it is, but we're going to get into it for the next hour and a half.
What a way to open up a game, and what a sucky way to close out a game. That was mainly down to execution. You can totally see that the Celtics team has the talent to eke out these wins against a talented team. We should have given the Houston Rockets a little bit more credit at the end of last post game. We said this was a game that the Celtics should win, and today I can't agree with that. This is a game that the Celtics could have easily had in the bag if a few things went right for them. We had a little bit more execution from our star players and more key times. We saw Jason Tatum starting to attack the rim at the end of the game, which was about 30 minutes too late into the game for him to begin doing that. A lot of shot chucking started to happen in the meat of tonight's game. They weren't able to get the ball flowing. It seems like they had the hot hand at the beginning, and they were just waiting for that to come back at some point for them. And I just really didn't see this type of execution from Joe Mazzulla coming. The rotations tonight were absolutely atrocious. The players, I mean, you had Tillman and Keita in at the same time for a large portion, a little bit more longer than you would want them to be on the court unless you have a 20-point lead. But
even then, yeah,
garbage time. But it was just a really well coached or a very poorly coached game by Joe Mazzulla tonight. There were flaws on the defensive end. There's no reason why Houston should have been able to score 2 times within those last 30 seconds. One was absolutely atrocious when you had Luke Cornett trying to isolate up at top and just left a free lane to the rack to give him a free 2 points. But a lot we can pull from this game, but we're back to inconsistency.
This Celtics ball club. We'll get my driver, all right? Get the driver because I'm about to tee off on the Celtics right
Tee
now.
off like a par 5. Come on.
The Celtics are a 500 basketball team. They're a 500 basketball team. I don't care about the 19-4 start at this point in time. They're 500 since that point. Look at the records on the bottom of the screen right now. The Rockets, they're 31-14. The Boston Celtics, they're 32-15. Technically, they're on par with the Houston Rockets this year, which the Houston Rockets, they've been a phenomenal ball club for what they've been able to accomplish this season. But you're looking at a team that was 500 last year in the Houston Rockets and terrible the year before. And I'm not saying the Rockets right now. I'm not saying the Boston Celtics. This is an inferior opponent because this is a very good opponent the Boston Celtics played tonight. But ultimately, this Houston Rockets team, they're on the same level as the Boston Celtics. But really what we've seen the last month out of both of these teams, the Rockets are actually a better basketball team. And you saw it tonight out on the Garden floor. We saw it throughout the night. The Celtics, they come out and actually punch the Rockets in the mouth to start this game. And we're thinking, oh, this might be another blowout win for the Celtics. Nice. Another building block in place. Not a stepping stone, but a building block in place. But at the end of the first quarter, I'm going to touch on this first because, Franco, you mentioned the rotations. The rotations tonight, what is going on with Joe Mazzulla and his rotations? What is going on? Are you against the Clippers? Okay, against the Clippers, who are playing absolutely nobody. No Zubac, no Harden, no Powell, no Kawhi Leonard in that game. Very little experimentation in that game, even though we saw Walsh, even though we saw Shireman, even though we saw Jaden Springer actually come in and save the game. If that Springer stretch doesn't happen, we're not even talking about those 3 players because it was very small stints, and it was really all because the Celtics were missing 3 players themselves, Porzingis, Horford, and Holiday that particular night. No experimentation really in that Clippers game. We come out, play the Lakers, go down by 20 early. Nope. No spark plugs coming in there. No experimentation there. Why not experiment in that game when the starters aren't giving you anything? Yet tonight, the starters come out, actually give the Celtics something. And of course, there's no Derek White in this game, no Al Horford as well. And of course, the Celtics, what do? Or rather, Joe Mazzulla and the coaching staff starts experimenting against essentially a top 5 team in the NBA. You just had a chance against the mediocre Lakers team. You just had a chance against the G League Clippers team. And on Sunday, you actually faced the Dallas Mavericks without Luka Doncic too. So, or I should say Saturday. Keep getting that day wrong. I have no idea why. It was a Saturday game against the Dallas Mavericks. That game as well. Yet tonight, why experiment tonight? We're back home on the Garden floor. We need this win because the Celtics can't gain any consistency whatsoever. And yet at the end of the first quarter, when the collapse started to happen for the Boston Celtics, which was the first collapse, there were multiple collapses in this game, as we're going to look at the lead track here in a second. But that first collapse, Keita is out on the floor. Tillman, who we've been screaming, can we just see Tillman play in some situation? This was the worst situation to play Tillman in. Tillman, Keita out on the floor. And then you have Jordan Walsh out there as well. You switch Brown and Tatum out, and you also have Pritchard out there. That was one of the worst rotations you could have thrown out there if you were Joe Mazzulla against the Houston Rockets, and it showed in the score. The Celtics were up by quite a few points in the first quarter, and then after those guys came out, after the first quarter was done, the Houston Rockets were in the lead. And then you go later in the game as well. This goes a little bit further away from rotations, but just in terms of execution, the Celtics, they grabbed themselves a 12-point lead. It's 101-89, and it actually looks like, oh, here we go. The Celtics, they're turning it up in the fourth quarter. They're having a good start to the fourth quarter, and it looks like the Celtics can actually come out and win this game against a quality opponent at home. And maybe, just maybe, they'll put that building block in place, and we can come in here and say some positive things about the Boston Celtics. Nope, 13-0 run for the Houston Rockets, and guess which team has more energy during that stretch? It's the Houston Rockets, and we've seen it all season long with the Boston Celtics against the Cleveland Cavaliers, against the Oklahoma City Thunder, against the Houston Rockets tonight. The younger teams who have not won anything in this league are playing with more energy, more intensity than the Boston Celtics, more care as well, and the inconsistency shows all over the place for the Celtics, not only in their record right now in the months of December and January, but in individual games. Individual games, the Celtics will have phenomenal stretches. They had phenomenal stretches tonight to start the game, to start the fourth quarter. And what happens? You end both of those quarters terribly. You actually, in multiple quarters tonight, give up over 30 points to the Houston Rockets. And ultimately, the Celtics, they can't play a full 48 minutes. And we're just sitting here talking about the same old thing with this Boston Celtics club. And it's getting utterly annoying because I'm tired of coming in here after a good win, after a win against the Magic, after a win against the Warriors, after a win against the Mavericks, and saying, look at how this team plays defensively. Look at how this team plays offensively. They can just play this way every single night. They are the best team in the NBA. Well, folks, if you can't put it together for a full 48 minutes, you can't put it together for a full consistent stretch of games, more than 3 games. The Celtics have won 3 games in a row only twice since the beginning of December. This is the same club that would rattle off 6, 7, 8 wins last year, and that would be the norm. Now we can't even win 3 in a row, much less 2 in a row, and we did it the other day against the Clippers and the Warriors, barely beating out the Clippers in overtime. Everybody's going, oh, thank goodness, for the first time in 3 weeks, we've won 2 in a row. Well, now we are just, this is, I don't even want to bring up the rock bottom conversation because it just, like we said against Toronto, Justin, you'll say it even now. Rock bottom can go much further than where we are right now, and we've seen since that Toronto game, it has gone much further because there are 3 quality wins in there. 3 quality wins. Other than that, all of either the win against the Clippers and all of the other losses, whether you're talking about the Hawks loss, the Lakers loss, tonight's loss, these are terrible games, and really the ones watching it, which is all of us, we can tell you that because everybody will look at the box scores and the scores. And Richard Jefferson was saying on the broadcast the other night, oh, well, the Celtics, they have been competitive in these games. They lost in overtime to the Hawks. And even tonight, they lost by 2 points to the Rockets. No, these games the Celtics had significant leads in, let the rope go entirely in multiple quarters within the game, and let it slip out from under their nose. And you cannot be doing this if you're a championship team, because in the playoffs, the margins matter. And the Celtics, they're not going to be able to go into the playoffs and, looks like we just lost game 5 tonight, guys. Game 6. It just slipped away from us tonight. The Celtics, this is terrible what we're going through right now. This is worse than being a bad basketball team because bad basketball teams know exactly what they're going to do on a nightly basis, which is lose ball games, and that's just what it is, and they're going one way or the other. Oh, we're losing games or we're not. Tonight, this is just another example of the Celtics being a 500 basketball team while somehow contending for the title in a season where they should be going back-to-back. And really, this is what makes the Celtics, the motivation, so hard to gain if you're the Boston Celtics. You won it last year. You have this aura about you coming into the season. Oh, we're coming in motivated. Oh, well, no, this is not real motivation. We're not seeing it on a nightly basis. We're seeing it from teams like the Rockets, like the Cavs, like the Thunder, who have actually not won anything in the NBA, who are younger than the Boston Celtics and are playing harder on a nightly basis. The Celtics cannot put together a consistent stretch of games. And at this point in time, it's annoying, and we're going to get more into this as the post game goes on. But some of the mistakes tonight, come on, really? From Brown and Tatum down the stretch? What are we doing? What are we doing? These are players with real legit accolades who are going to be in the Hall of Fame later on in time. No doubt about that, regardless of what this result is and the season's result is. They're going to be in the Hall of Fame. And yet tonight, it's high school stuff. It's college stuff. We've literally been saying this about the team for the past month. And when is it going to stop? When is it going to stop?
I'll say this. I actually really liked what I saw for Boston tonight.
I didn't have a problem with this game. Not a huge problem.
No, I have a problem with this game.
No, Justin, I'm not going to allow Justin to say this. No, you have to have a problem with this game. This is a loss. Because this is the attitude that Joe Mazzulla brings. Okay, he goes, we're not going to be as dominant this season. What does everybody expect? We do expect them to be as dominant this season. They're the same team, and this is a loss.
Enjoyable game to watch for most of this game. 110% compared to, I understand we lost, not justifying a loss. We lost. We suck. We've been win, loss. We are the Atlanta Hawks. That's what we are right now. The Atlanta one game we look like a champion.
They're probably better than us right now in the last 10, maybe.
But this game, there were a lot more moments in this game that I saw where I was pleased with than not, compared to other games that I've recently seen.
Well, let me say this too. Let me preface this. In terms of, I liked what I saw from Boston because you are playing the second seed in the West. You are without Derek White. You have Kristaps. Excuse me. You got Kristaps Porzingis in foul trouble all game. You have Dylan Brooks playing a career night. You have Amin Thompson playing a career night. You are getting Houston's best shot. There's no doubt about that. You are getting a very good team's best shot, and you are still in the game. You're doing good things, right? The first quarter, I'm not super concerned. All right, yes, it's a bad stretch of basketball, but again, you're playing a good team that's motivated, that's playing really well. That's going to happen. My concern with this team in this loss in particular was what transpired in the fourth quarter.
That's been a thing.
Right. And that's the part that's concerning. Execution should not be a problem with a championship team. You should be able to, at home against the Houston Rockets, be able to execute down the stretch with your eyes closed. That was the problem. Boston played a good game tonight. Again, when you look at what happened and what the X's and O's of this game actually presented, okay, bad first half from Tatum. What happens? He steps up in the second half, right? Like, things happened in this game that I liked. We played well. And then you let up a 13-0 run in the fourth. You have a collapse on defense on the final play of the game, right? You drew up a good play. You got to the rim. You got Tatum open downhill on a great look at like an action that Celtics fans have been asking for to see execution-wise down the stretch for what feels like the entire Mazzulla experience. Now we finally see that. And then what happens on the other end? Mazzulla looks confused. He takes Porzingis out because they're going to foul. And then Porzingis doesn't come back in. And Cornette and Brown are looking at the sideline. And then they're looking at each other. And then they're about to switch. And then they stop switching. And then Amin Thompson gets the ball. He's looking through him. He's like, oh shit, I have an open lane to the rim. And he wins the game for him. So it's like, yes, while Boston played well, right, where I stand on that, tonight was actually Boston played well. They threw all of that out the window with a Washington Wizards-esque execution in the fourth quarter. That's what matters about tonight's game. And
you see, like, the playing well to me, like, doesn't matter because this keeps happening.
Exactly.
With the team.
Right. Yeah. Which is exactly my point was, yes, Boston played well tonight. Good. That doesn't matter right now. You need to execute. You need to win the game. This is a team, right? You might say, oh, these guys, the Celtics are 32-15. They're the second seed. They got the third best. That doesn't matter. When you have been bad now for 2 months, right? The Celtics over the last 20 games, guys, they're 11-9. That's good in the East for like about the 7 seed. Like that's how they've been playing the past 2 months of the season. It has now been more than half of this year. Boston's been playing poorly. They have been playing poorly for longer than they have played well this season. And that's a problem.